would want to watch.
Good evening from Lagos, everyone. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. This is Beyond 100 Days. Tomorrow's June 12, set aside by the federal government to mark 25 years of unbroken democracy in Nigeria. This is the second June 12 President Tinubu will be marking in office after his inauguration last year on May 29th. And we have a robust lineup of programs for this conversation on TVC News tomorrow, so you want to stay tuned. Thursday, June 13, on the other hand, will mark 1 year in office for lawmakers at the 10th National Assembly. We'll begin our conversation on how the Godswill Akpabio-led Senate has fared in the past 1 year vis-a-vis its lawmaking duties, national interventions, and of course its relationship with the executive. A review of the activities of the 109 senators with regard to sponsoring of bills shows some 279 bills sponsored between 13th July 2023 and March this year. Joining me on the program is the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, representing Ekiti Central Senatorial District in the Senate since 2019. Distinguished, thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
All right, so we have just about 20 minutes. We will favor a fast-paced conversation so we can cover a lot. President Tinubu was at the National Assembly on May 29 to pay his respect to the House and the role it's played in Nigeria's unbroken democracy in the past 25 years. But opinions appear divided on how well this arm of government and its occupants have fared since 1999. What do you consider the most prominent progress and setback during this period?
Well, thank you so much. The last 1 year, no doubt, has been a period of, trying to get things together, trying to make things work, trying to also, based on the feelings of Nigerians, see how best to work with the executive arm of government to ensure that we're able to make life more meaningful for our people. In the last 1 year, as a parliament, we have done a lot in trying to ensure that, one, we continue to make laws that will ensure good governance in this country. We also have done a lot at the level of ensuring effective representation of our people, trying to do oversight, carry out our oversight functions as stipulated in the Constitution and in the rules of both the Senate as well as the House of Representatives. Part of the most important thing we were elected to do, like I said, is to make laws. In the last 1 year, in the Senate, a total of 477 bills, have been introduced. Trying to speak to different aspects of our lives. Some were new bills, establishment bills. Some were amendment bills, based on the realities of our situation. And out of these, a total of 25 bills, have been passed altogether. And why do you have 25 bills passed out of 477? Again, it is because bills have to go through 3 different stages. First reading, second reading, which is when the general principles are debated, as well as the third reading, which is what happens after the committee of the whole, and public hearing would have been done and all that. So it's quite a process. But like I said, 25 have been passed. In all of these, presently as we speak, we have had to deal with 275 executive bills, and bills that are waiting second reading as we speak, 45 bills altogether. We have passed 115 resolutions. Again, resolutions are the decisions that we take based on motions, and sometimes they have to do with the various ministries, departments, and agencies of government. And we have dealt with a total number of 50 petitions from members of public in the last one year. Also, based on our role as a Senate that must confirm appointments proposed by Mr. President, we have done a total of 215 confirmation hearings in the last 1 year. So all of these have been going on, in addition to also ensuring that we're able to discharge our peculiar responsibilities to our constituents.
So they say no fewer than 24 of the senators are yet to sponsor any bill in the past year, while each of the other 85 have at least one bill to his or her name. In fact, the list names you as the senator with the highest number of bills. The last count, they said it was 23, although many of them are also from the executive arm of government. But what's your evaluation of the number and quality of bills that have been sponsored within this period?
Thank you so much. For me, I think that is the real issue, the quality, of bills that are passed by the legislature. I'm more interested in that, actually, than the number of senators who have sponsored bills, because if the race or the competition is about every senator sponsoring a bill, then you run the danger of not even of lowering or undermining the quality of bills that will be passed. Bills are meant to be sponsored by senators based on interest. You can bring a bill as an executive bill, which is a bill coming from the executive arm of government. You also can bring a bill as a private member bill. Again, when it's a private member bill, it may be because the senator himself woke up, to some ideas on the need to change some aspects of our law or establish a new law. On the other hand, it could be based on, interest groups that have approached the particular senator to say, well, we are from the civil society, or from some professional bodies, or we are some community leaders, and we feel there's a need, to change this particular aspect of law, or there's a need for us to make this new law, and we are approaching you as a senator or a elected representative to sponsor this bill on our behalf. So these are the various ways that bills come about. But like we said, the most important thing is the quality of the bills, that are being sponsored, and that also will explain to you why I said out of 477 bills introduced, we have passed just 25 in the last 1 year, because we have to ensure the quality of the bills that we are passing. There will have to be, the bills will have to be well debated. We have to organize public hearings so that members of public can also take part, in the deliberations and take their own position. And the committees will have to also prepare their report, and all that. So all of these go into the process.
One of the things that stand out, in the 10th Senate, or perhaps let's even say the 10th National Assembly, is the relationship between the executive and legislative branches, which has been notably harmonious. Of course, for the first time, we have a president and vice president who are former lawmakers, and a handful of other former lawmakers working with them. But some critics argue that this could undermine checks and balances. How does it benefit or hinder democratic governance?
Well, I'll put it this way. Our Constitution makes provisions for separation of powers. In other words, the three arms of government, even if they are headed by three siblings from the same parents, and one of them is called President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, the other one is called President of the Senate, and the third one is called Chief Justice of Nigeria. Three siblings from the same parent. They still must recognize the fact that they are heading three different arms of government, and there must be separation of powers. And that explains why the legislature cannot do the job of the executive cannot do the job of the judiciary. The Constitution also makes provisions for the principle of checks and balances, which explains why the legislature will make the law. It will take the executive to assent to the law, to the bill, before it can become law. And the judiciary is there waiting to see the quality of law both arms of government would have made, by the time it's been passed into law. The judiciary is in a place to shut down the law by saying this law does not meet the standard, this law cannot stand. That's for the checks and balances. The same Constitution also provides, for the need for collaboration among the three arms of government. In addition to all these significant constitutional provisions, I want to emphasize that this is also a very critical time in the life of our country, where there is a need for collaboration, especially between the legislative arm of government and the executive arm of government. This is not the time for grandstanding. And, Nifemi, I will emphasize the fact that we had seen the two sides of the coin. In the 8th Assembly, we had a situation where the legislature, was totally against the executive arm of government. We saw how national budgets were not passed until May, June, sometime July of the following year. We saw how our economy also suffered a major setback, and governance suffered a setback just because the legislature and the executive could not work together. We also saw the exact opposite of that in the 9th Assembly, when the legislative arm could work collaboratively with the executive arm of government. And when we're talking about collaboration, what's it that we're talking about? We are not saying, the executive can just do anything and the legislature will take it hook, line and sinker. We're also not saying the legislature can pass any kind of law and the executive arm will assent to, Mr. President will assent to it. No, that does not happen. But what we are trying to remind ourselves is that this is not the time for grandstanding. Our people are going through a critical situation. We are working hard as a government to conquer poverty, to defeat insecurity, defeat terrorism, to manage global economic recession, and also do everything possible to ensure that we make life more meaningful to our people. So it makes more sense for the legislature at this point to ensure that there is collaboration in overriding public interest. As long as it's about overriding public interest, that is what is important to us. And those who feel that the only way a legislature can distinguish itself is by grandstanding and fighting with the executive arm of government, at every point.
I hear you.
I need to understand.
I hear you clearly distinguished. The point I'm trying to make, however, are some of the concerns that have also come within the Senate in the past year. Some of your colleagues have accused Senator Akpabio of ambushing them and hastily passing bill without following due process. How has that played out?
Well, I'll put it this way. It is said that, as it is said in Latin, tot homine, tot sentimental. That means there are as many opinions as there are people. It's for Nigerians to criticize the government. It's not for government to criticize Nigerians. We're elected representatives of the people. When people express such concerns, we go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves and search our conscience and be sure of what we are doing. The truth about it is it's not possible for the President of the Senate to ambush any legislator when it comes to passing a bill. Our rules are clear. The Constitution is clear as to the process through which a bill will have to pass before it's passed into law. And one of that is the first stage, which is the stage of first reading. The second stage is known as the stage of second reading, which is when every legislator has an ample chance to debate the general principles and merits of the bill. And you have to also put it into question as a presiding officer whether senators or House of Reps members, whichever chamber this is happening, whether they want the bill to be read the second time. Without, the vote, of senators, passing that the bill be read for a second time. It cannot be read for a second time. And mind you, after it would have been read for a second time, the next thing is now to refer this bill to the specific committee that has the responsibility, for that sector of government that the bill is trying to regulate.
And you're saying that process has not been breached in the past 1 year.
Process has not been breached, and we have also ensured to organize public hearing before the passage of every bill, and the committee will bring back the report of the public hearing before we do the third reading of the bill.
Distinguished, let me hold you for a minute for a short break, and we'll be back with more. Stay with us, everyone.
I, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, do solemnly swear
The 10th Senate will clock 1 year on Thursday, 13th June 2024, and I'm joined by the Senate Majority Leader representing Ekiti Central Senatorial District, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele. Distinguished, thank you for staying the course on the program. Yes, quickly, let's talk about the 100 billion naira zonal intervention project that was outlined in this year's budget, which has now somehow become a subject of controversy. One of the concerns has been that in previous years, the specifics of this section of the budget were available on the budget office of the Federation's website for public access. How do you address concerns regarding transparency and accountability, especially considering reports like the one from Budget, which highlighted many projects being incomplete and untraceable?
Well, thank you so much. We are concerned about the challenge of abandoned projects in the country, and it goes beyond constituency projects. One of the motions that we have on the floor, which we are dealing with today, identifies over 8,000 projects across the country as projects that have been abandoned, in between different administrations in the country, in virtually all sectors, of governance and of our economy. And with respect to the 100 billion naira set aside for constituency projects, let me say that, unfortunately, the question of constituency projects is one question that has been largely misunderstood, either by those who really will want to mislead the public in this regard, or by the lack of transparency that appear to have also trailed, the implementation of the project in the past. The truth about it is, if you divide 100 billion naira by 109 senatorial districts and 360 federal constituencies in this country, you see that there is no senatorial district or constituency that can actually boast of 1 billion naira, in terms of constituency project. And what is the whole idea of constituency project? Constituency project is not money put in the pocket of senators or House of Reps members. It is money that is set aside to ensure that projects, however small, are taken to various constituencies. And what the idea behind that is that when you ask senators and House of Reps members to pass a national budget, every senator, every House of Representatives member wants to see something in his community. And take 100 billion, for instance, in a budget of 28 trillion naira. What is 100 billion naira? What percentage of that is this amount devoted to constituency projects? It's not even up to 1%, of the budget. But let me tell you, be rest assured that is the only thing that ensures that something goes to every nook and cranny of Nigeria. At best, Some legislators don't even get more than a few boreholes or solar street lights going to their constituencies, out of this money. By the time you divide the money among the various federal constituencies and senatorial districts. This is how it works. But people talk about constituency projects as if it is money that is given to senators and House of Reps members, to put in their pocket and spend. Right. It's all about constituency project put in various constituencies, but which, like I said, a lot of time is not more than very simple projects that will not even go a long way in speaking to the needs of the people.
Indeed. Hopefully, we're going to find time to talk more about this. If you oblige us to come again, because I have lost track how many times I've tried to reach you to get you on the program, but I'm glad you're here. We have to go in a few minutes. So
let me say something. Let me say something about that. I'm sorry. It's not been in my tradition really to speak a lot on TV because we have a Senate spokesperson, and what we have decided to do in the 9th Senate is to allow our Senate spokesperson to do most of the talking.
Not necessarily speaking.
I have the floor.
Not necessarily speaking for the Senate, distinguished, but as a distinguished senator yourself, you are also serving your people, and they want to hear from you. But because we have just 3 more minutes,
I'll be here to address you anytime you want me to do that.
Well, I think I got your I got your word on that, and we are really going to count on it. You raised the bill to change Nigeria's national anthem, and there's no way we're going to end this conversation without talking about it. We've seen that generate significant public discourse. Some have said, how does that change the price of commodity in the market? There are conversations also on the speed at which the change was implemented, whether Nigerians were, consulted duly, and if the same energy will apply to other bills that will better the life of Nigerians. How are you reacting to this?
Well, my reaction will be simple. Again, it is for the people to criticize the government. It's not for the government to criticize the people. It is the people who can dissolve the government. Government cannot dissolve the people. So I always take public critics or criticism as something very significant. I do not wave them aside, but it's important for me to emphasize that this is the very first time in the life of our country that a parliament of elected representatives of the people will be taking a position on our national anthem. And the national anthem bill goes beyond the wordings of the national anthem. That's just contained in the schedule. The national anthem bill, which was passed into law and signed into law by Mr. President, has 7 significant sections. Each section addressing different issues. When shall the national anthem be sung? In what fora, and at what point, and what are the rules, in what context. A lot of these things are significant that provision were made to regulate, these things. And whether or not it changes the price of food in the market, of course, nobody had the illusion that was going to affect the price of food in the market. But it speaks, to our soul as a nation. It speaks to our thinking, our belief. We are elected representatives of the people. And let me also emphasize, we did organize a public hearing. There was a public hearing. Members of civil society, community leaders came and participated. The Attorney General of the Federation also came and participated, in the public hearing. So it is not correct when people say we hurriedly passed that bill into law without allowing the public to make an input. We did organize a public hearing.
Distinguished, we have completely run out of time, and we've not even talked about, what you're doing to stabilize Nigeria's fiscal and monetary environment. So you see why you really have to come again. Thank you so much for your time.
I promise I will.
All right, looking forward to that. Senate Majority Leader, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, thank you so much for talking to us.
It's my pleasure, Nifemi. Thank you so much.
That's our show today, everyone. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.
He is super funny. he is naturally witty. He is funny bold. Lagos, brace up for the comedy show of the year. Funny Bone Live, Aina Son. Featuring Gordons, Dan the Humorous,